India is racing to build out a massive digital economy, constructing tech corridors and entirely new smart cities. But those very same coastal hubs and agricultural lifelines sit on the front lines of shifting monsoons and severe heat waves. To secure this economic future, the country is executing an aggressive energy transition. The target is to hit 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030, eventually reaching a net zero economy by 2070. Reaching those targets require solving wicked problems, crises like climate change, resource management, and sustainable agriculture that are so deeply entangled, pulling on one thread instantly disrupts three others. You cannot solve overlapping crises using isolated methods. A biological problem in crop yields cannot be fixed without addressing the physics of the local climate. Meeting these 2070 targets depends on a shift in cognition, moving education away from the memorization of isolated facts toward mastering the systems thinking required to navigate these interconnected risks. Right now, our traditional educational system actively works against this kind of problem solving. We take the complexity of the real world and chop it into discrete 45-minute periods of biology, physics, and geography. Even when schools teach all these subjects, they run them on parallel tracks. A student memorizes equations in one room and cellular structures in another, never seeing the invisible forces connecting them. Outside the classroom, a localized crop failure doesn't check the syllabus. It is driven simultaneously by the physics of heat transfer, the geographic elevation of the soil, and the biological limits of the plant's root system. Keeping these subjects walled off means students struggle to take the theories from their textbooks and apply them to the environmental realities happening right outside their windows. This is where FusionSTEAM comes in. It takes the familiar science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics model and pushes it past parallel learning into a fully transdisciplinary approach. Transdisciplinary learning involves the active transformation of knowledge, where insights from one scientific discipline redefine the core principles of another. Let's apply this to a real crisis facing India, the rapid melt of Himalayan glaciers. To understand why an ice shelf collapses, students calculate atmospheric physics, tracking radiation and fluid dynamics, applying them to the mountain's topography. This new volume of meltwater responds to gravity, carving new paths through the rock. Knowing the exact thermodynamic equation of the melting ice only matters when you synthesize it with the geographic reality of the landscape below it. Once that meltwater reaches the valleys, we must look at how its geographic distribution dictates the survival of biodiversity hotspots and local settlements. Zooming into the biophysical level, students examine how changing fluid forces and temperature shifts alter the biomechanics and basic photosynthesis of local crops. This is where the arts and design element of FusionSTEAM bridges the gap between studying a disaster and preventing one. Students use these combined scientific insights to engineer creative, biomimetic resilience models inspired by nature. To build these models, they rely on actual data, applying satellite physics from ISRO's remote sensing initiatives to map geographic risks in real time. By weaving these disciplines together, education shifts from memorizing facts for an exam to engineering actionable solutions for a volatile world. This shift toward holistic, critical thinking frameworks is the primary driver behind India's National Education Policy of 2020, deliberately moving classrooms away from rote memorization. The reason for this policy mandate is heavily economic. India's transition to a green economy is generating billions of dollars in new infrastructure, and that market has a massive deficit of interdisciplinary talent. This demand is focused on a specific set of high-demand roles, including climate analysts, expert sustainability consultants, and geospatial technology experts, all positions that require a fluent understanding of overlapping sciences. Developers building smart cities and agricultural networks are no longer looking for isolated specialists. They need systems thinkers who can see the entire board and anticipate how one change ripples through an entire ecosystem. This demand extends far beyond domestic borders. Organizations like the World Economic Forum consistently point to a lack of transdisciplinary skills as a major bottleneck for global progress. Indian students trained in the FusionSTEAM framework step into the international job market with a sharp competitive edge. Their ability to synthesize data across disciplines makes them highly sought after for roles in global climate finance, international NGOs, and green tech. By tearing down the artificial walls between subjects in the classroom, we equip the next generation with the exact cognitive tools they need to protect the planet and lead the future economy.